Not with a story, with a question. Find any archival photograph of an American city between 1870 and 1920. Any city. New York, Chicago, St. Louis, Denver. Pick a shot that has large buildings, city halls, banks, hotels, train stations. Look at the rooftops. Almost every building from that period has metal structures on top. Spires, rods, turrets. Officially, lightning rods and decorative elements. But now look more carefully at the shots taken on overcast days, where there's no direct sunlight. On some of these photographs, around those structures, there is a glow, not a reflection, not a film exposure error. A localized, stable glow right at the base of the metal rods. I'm going to show you several of these photographs right now. Watch the domes and towers. Do you see it? Official photographic historians call this a film artifact, a random defect. But here's what's strange. This defect appears only on metal structures of a specific type. Never on drain pipes, never on flagpoles, only on those specific crown elements that disappeared from city rooftops somewhere between 1920 and 1950. Where did they go? Why specifically those, and why did they glow? Most videos about Tesla start with the story of an unrecognized genius. I'm not going to do that. Let's talk only about documented facts. Fact 1. In 1891, Tesla patented a system for transmitting electrical energy without wires through resonant induction. Patent number 454622. It exists. You can read it. Fact 2. The patent describes not one tower, but a network, a distributed system of nodes, each receiving and transmitting energy. Tesla wrote explicitly, the efficiency of the system depends on the number of nodes and the distance between them. Fact 3. In 1899, in Colorado Springs, Tesla conducted an experiment where he lit 200 light bulbs wirelessly at a distance of several kilometers from the source. This is not a legend. It is documented in his own diary, which was published. Now the official version says, after the failure of the Wardenclyffe Tower in 1905-1917, this technology remained unrealized. Tesla was ruined. The system never operated at industrial scale. But here is the question the official version never asks. If Tesla could already light 200 bulbs at several kilometers distance in 1899, what stopped someone else, with different money and different interests, from building this system earlier, or in parallel, or even before Tesla had formulated the theoretical foundation? In 1978, architectural historian Raymond Foss published a monograph on commercial architecture of the American Midwest. The book was printed in an edition of 800 copies and was never reprinted. It contains one chapter that nobody cites. Foss mapped the locations of buildings with crown metal structures across 7 cities: Columbus, Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago. Within each city, the distance between such buildings was nearly identical, about 1 kilometer, a regular grid. Foss wrote one sentence about this and moved on to the next topic. He was an architectural historian, not a physicist. He recorded the fact and didn't grasp its significance. But if you know basic physics of resonant systems, you understand what this means. Resonant energy transmission operates at a specific wavelength. The distance between nodes in the network must be a multiple of that wavelength. If you want to cover a city with a wireless energy transmission network, you place the nodes at equal intervals, exactly like that. A grid with a spacing of about 1 kilometer is not a coincidence. It's an engineering decision. Now open the construction drawings for those buildings. They exist in archives. Foundations, walls, floors, roofs, all documented. The crown elements are not in the drawings, not in a single one. They were added after the buildings were completed. On whose instructions? In what year? With whose money? Not one document. Someone installed a network of metal structures across all major American cities according to a single engineering plan, left no paperwork about it, and nobody ever asked why. Back to the glow. The photographic emulsion of the 19th and early 20th century was sensitive to electromagnetic radiation across a broad spectrum, not just visible light. Early photographic processes, collodion, gelatin silver bromide emulsion, responded to ultraviolet light far more strongly than modern digital sensors. This is not a theory. This is basic history of photochemistry. It's precisely why early portraits required long exposures and special lighting. The emulsion was sensitive to a different spectrum. If the metal structures on the rooftops were emitting or concentrating an electromagnetic field, even a weak one, the emulsion of that period would have recorded it exactly this way, as a localized glow around the source of the field. This is not proof. This is an explanation of the mechanism. But now, look at a specific historical moment. The World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, 1893. 200 buildings, everything lit by electricity. Tesla and Westinghouse against Edison. Alternating current won. In photographs of the exposition, the buildings glow on the outside uniformly. No sharp shadows, no visible point light sources. The official explanation: arc lamps around the perimeter. Arc lamps in 1893 produced harsh directional light. Look at any other photograph with arc lighting from that period. Shadows are sharp. Light is uneven. In photographs of the Chicago Exposition, the buildings glow as if from within the material itself. Uniform. Soft. Tesla was personally present at that exposition. He demonstrated wireless transmission of current through his own body. This is documented. He held light bulbs without wires, and they lit up. The question nobody asked: if he was doing that with a bulb in his hand, what was happening to the buildings around him? Between 1880 and 1910, two simultaneous processes are happening in American cities. The first process, construction of centralized electrical networks. Edison, then Westinghouse. Wires, poles, substations, meters, enormous investment. Morgan put the equivalent of hundreds of millions of modern dollars into the Edison Electric Light Company. The second process, gradual dismantling of crown structures from city rooftops, without documentation, without explanation, sometimes under the banner of modernization, sometimes before demolition, sometimes simply, the building stands and the structures on the roof have one day disappeared. These two processes run in parallel. As each district gets connected to the centralized network, the crown elements on buildings in that district disappear. Coincidence? Possibly. But here is the economic logic worth understanding. A centralized electrical grid is a business model based on control of flow. You generate energy in one place. You sell it through wires. Every consumer is connected to your network. Everyone pays every month. This only works if there is no alternative source. Wireless energy transmission through a resonant network is a fundamentally different model. Energy in the air. Any device of the right design receives it. No wires, no meters, no monopoly. Morgan financed Tesla as long as the conversation was about wireless transmission of information. Radio. When Tesla began talking about wireless transmission of energy, The financing was cut. Morgan wrote about this directly in a letter. The letter exists. He wrote, "If anyone can stick a device in the ground and receive energy, where is the business in that?" This is not an interpretation. This is a quote from a surviving letter by Morgan. I am not claiming to know exactly what happened. Here is what I am claiming. Metal structures stood on the rooftops of American cities according to a single engineering plan with a spacing of about 1 kilometer. They were not entered into construction documentation. They disappeared in sync with the arrival of centralized electrical networks. The photographic emulsion of that period recorded a glow around them that is not explained by standard photographic artifacts. Tesla patented the operating principle of exactly such a system. Morgan cut his financing with a direct statement about the impossibility of monetizing wireless energy. Tesla's papers were confiscated on the day of his death. Each of these facts individually has an explanation. Together, they form a picture in which someone very methodically removed infrastructure that could not be put on a meter. We pay for electricity every month. We do it so habitually that we don't ask the question, was it ever any different? Look at old photographs of your city. Find the buildings with crown elements on the rooftops. Then find those same buildings today. The structures are gone. The meters remain. If you're interested in what else was removed before anyone had a chance to ask, the next video is already ready.